Today I'd like to talk about a friend I've gotten to know through YouTube who's originally from California. He's now a missionary in Japan, and he's going to be with us here in Minnesota next week. I'm also going to say a word or two about this microphone. Stay tuned. Hello, friends. Pastor Tim Westermeyer here, senior pastor of St. Philip the Deacon in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. If you've watched this podcast for a while, you may notice we have a new bit of equipment today, a new microphone. I'm going to say a little something about that at the end of the episode, so stay tuned for that. Today, though, let me start by thanking people who responded to last week's episode about angels. I actually got a fair number of comments at church. I got an email or two. I'm so grateful for those. As always, thank you for reaching out and communicating with me. It's wonderful to get that input. In the future, if you are so inclined, no pressure as always, but if you have been touched by a message or have been impacted by it, it's always great if you're willing to comment on it on the platform where you're viewing it or listening to it. So particularly I'm thinking of YouTube, which is sort of the home of this, or Facebook. I know a lot of people watch these on Facebook. So just an ongoing invitation, if you feel like commenting, feel free to do it on the platform itself. We are taping this on January 30th. I think that it will be broadcast on February 2nd. And so I want to talk about an event a week out from that. I think I've mentioned it before. So this podcast is sort of an advertisement for an event on February 9th, which will feature a gentleman named Dave Robeson, who's become a friend of mine of sorts, interestingly, because of YouTube. And he's going to be joining us for Faith and Life at 7 o'clock Central Time on Thursday, February 9th. And so part of what I want to say today is if you're in the area and listening to this, the Twin Cities area or Twin Cities region, please join us in person. Dave is literally coming all the way from Japan, where he is a missionary, to speak for us. And I would love to have a large crowd for him to welcome him back to the States. He's originally from California. So join us that way. If you are not close to us physically, please join us virtually through the live stream, and we'll provide a link to that. And in the next few days before that event, if you're seeing this in advance of the event, would you please share news of this event with others so that they can also join us, whether in person or virtually. If you do want to learn more about Dave, I will commend to you an article in the current winter issue of Inspire magazine. Many of you may have a hard copy of this at home. If you don't, this is available online digitally. And so there's a wonderful interview with Dave in that. And again, we'll provide a link to that in the description below. The last thing I'll say, again, related to this microphone, ever since we started this podcast, Tim, who's behind the camera and edits all of these, and thank you for your wonderful work, Tim, as always, and I have had conversations about whether we want to expand the platform here beyond just me talking to possibly doing interviews with people. We likely will do more of those in the future, but I think sort of appropriately, the first one of those we're going to do will be live in this, well, it'll be taped, it won't be live, but Dave will be live in this studio, which meant we had to give some thought to the actual setup of the studio, and we're building out a little place where he and I can both sit, and we had to get a couple of microphones for that interview. One of them I'm using today. So if it sounds wonderful and better than usual, by the way, feel free to comment about that as well. We will tape that interview with Dave on Wednesday the 8th. It will not show up until, I think, after the Faith and Life event, but I'm really looking forward to having a chance to visit and chat with him in person. I've actually talked to him live on Zoom, just him and myself, about the work of pastoring and the work of being a missionary, and also his YouTube channel. And the reason we connected, by the way, was because of episode 124 of this podcast, which was about watches, and maybe we'll link to that as well. Anyway, the connection with him is one of the wonderful gifts and blessings of having done this podcast, Reflections of Faith, now for, it's probably going on, probably 3 years now. That's amazing. And I've connected with many other people around the world, and I'm grateful for all of you. And I do hope you will tune in on the 9th for Faith and Life. I look forward also to releasing this interview with Dave whenever we get that actually in the can and completed. And I guess the last thing I'll say is, as always, if you have things you'd like us to address or talk about in future episodes, I'm always interested in hearing from you. So please comment about those so that we can continue to provide content that's meaningful and significant and answers your questions, plural. So again, I hope you've enjoyed the new mic. It's been a kind of new experience for me. And until next time, as always, be well, stay in touch, and God bless.